Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Maritime Witch, episode 2.9. With the approaching of the Halloween season and autumn, we decided that this episode we're going to focus on one of the best TV shows ever. Now, if you've been a longtime listener of the Maritime Witch, last season, I think it was episode 10, we did a podcast on our favorite TV witches. And so there might be a little bit of cross content here where we are a little bit repetitive. But on September 17th, this was the release date of Bewitched. So we're going to focus on Bewitched for this episode. And this is the 60th anniversary of the show. Sean is here, by the way. I'm sure he'll have some input at some point or another.
I know lots of information on I Dream of Jeannie.
We're not doing I Dream of Jeannie.
Next podcast.
No. The next podcast is the Halloween show.
Because when I used to watch I Dream of Jeannie, I
dreamt of Jeannie?
Of Jeannie, yeah.
I bet you did. Okay. Let's keep this clean. So, Bewitched. It aired September 17th, 1964. It ran for 8 seasons. And it also, it ended on March 25th, 1972, which is kind of funny because March 25th is my birthday.
Which is kind of funny?
Witch. We say witch a lot.
Darren Stevens. He's got the spirit. She's the spirit.
Mother!
He's bewitched. Samantha Stevens. Artful. Spellbinding. Enchanting. Here's another spirit.
I believe you have my seat.
Oh, I think there's been some mistake.
There has, and you just made it.
Got the spirit? Get bewitched.
Undo your thing.
With Elizabeth Montgomery. Every week on ABC.
So, Bewitched, if you don't know, and I'm sure everybody knows, is about Samantha. She was a witch and she married a mortal. And she falls in love with an ad executive, which is actually kind of funny because I am a practicing witch and Sean has just embarked on the journey of an advertising agency with his partner in crime. So our little family here has kind of come full circle with Bewitched, where we don't have a Tabitha, but maybe next year when we get a raccoon on our deck, maybe we'll call her Tabitha next year.
The only thing is that in the series, he didn't want her to use her magic to help the advertising thing.
True.
You can feel free to use your magic. Whatever magic you've got, you can feel free to use it.
Well, how about we do a little plug for McCarty Media on the Facebook page, which, by the way, we do have a Facebook page as well as being on YouTube. So, if you're listening, give us a like, give us a share. The more people that listen, the better it is for us. That doesn't really do anything for us, but it's kind of nice to see the views go up and know that, people still want us to continue with the series.
And actually, because I produced this podcast, it's McCarty Media.
It is.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so September 17th, which this year, so 60th anniversary of Bewitched. By the way, there is a great 60th anniversary special on YouTube, and I will share the link to that on the Facebook page as well. It's very much worth the watch. And it is also September 17th, the full moon, which we will get to later in the podcast. So kind of funny that it's all kind of falling on those days. So some tidbits about Bewitched. Let's see. It ran for 8 seasons. It outran every other fantasy show of the era, which would be I Dream of Jeannie, The Addams Family, The Munsters. And the original Darren never wanted to leave. And actually the ratings dropped when they replaced Darren, which is kind of funny because I liked both Darrens, but I liked the second one better for some reason. But he left because of terrible back pain. He just couldn't act anymore. It was just, and he had actually got injured. See, I had really, really good notes and I tucked them away somewhere safe, and so safe I can't find them. So I'm kind of winging it here with some really quick notes.
He got injured on previous movie, I think.
Yeah.
Something to do with his back.
Yeah, it was while they were filming, they came to Cordura in 1959 and he never fully recovered. And he was just so dependent on painkillers.
And see, the weird thing is, though, that we grew up kind of watching the second Darren.
Yeah.
I think in reruns, they showed more of the
second Darren.
Of the second Darren.
Yeah. Samantha and Endora's names actually came from a biblical story.
Oh, cool.
It came from the first book of Samuel, where there was a story about Saul consulting the witch of Endor. So they used the name Samantha from Samuel and Endora from the Witch of Endor.
Oh.
So it was kind of a neat little tidbit.
Isn't Endor some kind of a Star Wars thing?
I don't know. I'm a Trekkie, remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right, too.
Yeah. The ladies in the show, Samantha, Gladys Kravitz, Larry Tate's wife. Anyways, a lot of the ladies in the show actually wore their own clothes. There was no like wardrobe or, costuming like there is today in TV shows and movies. Unless Trailer Park Boys. I know that they provided. I know for a fact because I actually spoke with one of the stars of the show, and they actually provided their own wardrobes for that as well.
Cool.
We dressed up as people from Star Wars, and I remember Julian copied off me. I don't even remember what I dressed up as, Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader or something, but Julian copied off me. Bubbles was the gold guy. I remember that.
The color green. If you've watched Bewitched, you'll notice that the color green is very prevalent. One of those kind of things that you probably actually don't notice. But there was green all over the show. They had like the carpet, the emerald accents placed around the scenes. And Elizabeth Montgomery also wore green a lot. It accented her eye color. But they actually chose the color green because it was so prevalent in witch folklore.
Oh, I thought it would be just because in the late 60s, there was like that pukey green everywhere.
Well, actually, the 60s and the 70s was very, what colors were? There was the almond and the green, and I think there may have been like an orange as well. I remember the Tupperware containers.
I was going to say the three colors of Tupperware.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go to a Tupperware party and see whole bunches of convenient ways to store and serve food. And more delicious colors. Go to a party soon.
Your Tupperware lady has the freshest ideas for locking in freshness.
Aunt Clara. She actually collected doorknobs in real life. She collected doorknobs in the show, and she collected doorknobs in real life.
And I do believe she won an Emmy or something like that?
She did, and she won it in, I do believe, 1966. And Elizabeth Montgomery accepted the award for her because she had passed. So she actually didn't get to receive the award herself. And Marion Lorne. Sorry, 1967, not 1966. And actually Bewitched garnered a lot of awards and a lot of nominations for different roles. Agnes Moorehead was nominated 1966, 68, 69, 70, 71. I do believe she won twice for sure, but not 100% how many times. But over the course of its 8 years, it had actually 33 nominations and 14 wins for different things.
And Agnes Moorehead did a lot of early radio.
Yeah, and her role was, she was sought out. I think Elizabeth Montgomery ran into her in a shop in New York. And that was how she got the role for Endora. I remember seeing that. We also know, too, that Elizabeth Montgomery also played her cousin, her wild-hearted cousin, Serena.
It's because she got sick of...
Yeah, she got tired of doing like the same thing over and over again.
Serena, when the client and his wife get here, promise you'll behave.
I promise I'll behave.
witch's honor.
And the other thing, too, is this was actually set in Westport, Connecticut. And a lot of people have asked the question is like, oh, was the house real? It was actually just filmed on the Columbia Ranch. So it was just a set. There was no real house for the Stevens family. But it's funny because we actually were talking about that the other day, that if we won the lottery, wouldn't it be cool to build and furnish the house like the Stevens house?
Yeah, and that's a cool little fact that just right across the road, I Dream of Jeannie was filmed.
Yes.
On the same lot.
Yep.
They were neighbors.
They were neighbors, yes. Things kind of go in cycles as far as different genres go, like science fiction and fantasy kind of has their turn, and then it kind of develops, like then horror kind of seems to take the limelight, and most recently, like Marvel Studios obviously is a huge franchise that's just taken on a great big action movies. You know, it always seems to go in cycles. They're always all there, but some of them, they take their turn at the forefront of the genre of the time. And the occult and fantasy and witchcraft in the late 60s and early 70s really took a big spin around the block. So,
which was a really cool time to be a kid growing up.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, you and I have seen over the years now, part of it is because we've moved. But, I mean, Halloween now, too. I mean, we'll discuss this in our next episode. But Halloween has even changed so much since we were kids. And some of that, obviously, is for, safety reasons. Because the world has become what the world has become. But I do notice, though, that I kind of scrolling on social media this morning, like there's this Halloween dance and this Halloween dance, and there's a fantasy ball coming up, and there's a lot of things that are starting to it's starting to become more prevalent now. Places that didn't normally have events are starting to have events now. So that's kind of nice to see, especially, Halloween for me. I was a Halloween kid, I'm not your Christmas girl, that's for sure.
No, you're not.
No, I don't hate it, but, Halloween is kind of my thing. So, let's see. Back to Bewitched. We got off topic there. The most controversial episode of Bewitched was one called Sisters at Heart, and it focused on bigotry and racism, and it was quite a poignant episode. And like I said, the most controversial.
And to do something like that back in the 60s?
Yeah, nothing's controversial anymore.
No, but, to do something like that back in the 60s, it was unheard of.
Yeah. Famous quotes from Bewitched. One of the most notable lines is, "Make it a double, Sam."
Or, well?
Have you been practicing your normal day-to-day witchcraft?
Well.
So you do it much better than me.
That's because I'm the witch and you're the advertising executive, and your double days are done.
Maybe somebody's going to come along halfway through and replace me too.
Jason Momoa, if you are listening, no, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. A lot of people think that there was a controversy that canceled the show, and that there was a controversial episode, I should say, that canceled the show, when in actual fact the show ended because Elizabeth Montgomery made a demand. She wanted her soon-to-be ex-husband fired from the show because obviously she didn't want to work with him anymore. And
really?
So anyways, they refused to fire him. So she just said, well, it's that or Bewitched is done. So Bewitched then was just finished.
I think it was kind of falling in the ratings anyways, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, with the replacement of Darren, it did start to drop in the ratings, which I don't know. I don't understand that, because I guess maybe for me is, like you said, when we were watching the show, that was the Darren that we saw.
Yeah.
Most of the time. So then when you start to, when nowadays you can go on any kind of streaming service and you can start with episode 1 and you can cycle through all of them. And you don't get to, you don't have to watch it once a week like we did when we were kids.
The funniest line in the movie that they made with Will Ferrell was when he said something along the lines of, what was I thinking, playing Darren Stevens? It's like they replaced him halfway through the series and nobody even noticed.
I don't know if you know this, but I'm Darren.
okay? They replaced Darren on the original Bewitched, and no one noticed!
Yeah, like I said, I actually preferred the second Darren. It was kind of hard for me to go back to the beginning of the show and watch with the old Darren. It's not that I didn't like him, don't get me wrong, but it just wasn't what I was used to, because that wasn't the Darren that I grew up with. So it was kind of hard to shift those gears. And it's funny because I've been watching it on and off for quite a while now, trying to go through all of the shows, because, I'd like to say that I've seen them all, obviously. And he was in a lot of episodes. I haven't even gotten to the switch over Darren yet.
It's like when I was younger and I was watching Doctor Who. It's like I came into Doctor Who when the person that was playing Doctor Who was Tom Baker. So I just always assumed that was the original Doctor Who. I didn't realize till like years later that there was 3 people before him. And incidentally, I ended up liking the guy right before him more. But anyways, this is about Bewitched.
They also did some filming in Salem. And the cast and the crew stayed at the Hawthorne Hotel while they were filming. It was in the late June of 1970. And I'll have to find the episode, but they had filmed actually some of the interior of the hotel, most notably the lobby elevators. Now, when you and I went to Salem, we couldn't afford to stay at the Hawthorne Hotel.
No.
Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. We got a really great deal with the Salem Waterfront Hotel. So,
best breakfast ever.
The restaurant there is great. If you get a chance to go to Salem, take it. It's a very maritime area, a lot like places that we have around here. Obviously touristy, because, that's what they're geared for, but there's a lot of really great witchy shops and a lot of really fantastic museums and things to see. A huge, beautiful park, and the cemeteries are worth looking through. And also, because we are talking about Bewitched, there is a Samantha statue.
And I do believe they started filming there because they had a fire on the set. Something burned down or something?
I think so, yeah. And they had to move.
They had to come up with some kind of a situation where they could still keep on filming. And that was a good idea, actually.
The feud on set between Darren and Endora, the mother-in-law, son-in-law, did not carry over into real life. They were actually really, really good friends and very close.
The very first Darren, yes.
Yeah, the very first Darren, yeah.
Dick York,
yes. And the other one was Dick Sargent. Elizabeth Montgomery was pregnant 3 times while filming, even though only 2 children were presented during the 8-year run series, which was obviously Tabitha and then their son Adam. The first time that she was pregnant, they used camera angles to kind of hide her pregnancy. They didn't incorporate it actually into the TV show. What else can we say about Bewitched? I mean, if you haven't seen it, or if your kids haven't seen it, it's a cute little show. It really is. It was a lot of recycled acting. You will notice that there are some recycled actors and actresses throughout the show doing different roles. But that's what they did in the 70s.
Paul Lynde,
yeah. And also the gentleman that played Dr. Bombay, Bernard Fox, was a recycled character as well. So...
Cool. I watched an episode the other day that had aliens that looked like dogs. Yeah, it was bizarre. They came down in a spaceship and they landed right in the yard, and Mrs. Kravitz was trying to prove that, that there was aliens over there, and then they got rid of them just in time.
Oh, yes. I was like, what are you talking about? But then I realized you were actually talking about an episode. I thought you were just kind of off on another tangent there.
Well, that's what you're used to, so.
Yeah, so... based on the movie Bell Book and Candle, which we've seen of one of the old movies. I love the classic movies. I wish more streaming services would actually carry them, because I think those are kind of becoming lost on the generations today, and it would be nice to get back to some wholesome TV.
And they started in black and white, and then they switched over to color.
Yeah.
So that was like a big thing in the day, to switch over to color.
Yeah. And then, the remake, obviously, with Nicole Kidman and Will Ferrell as well.
Yeah. Did you like that movie?
I didn't hate it, but I'm a kid of the 70s, so there will never be a replacement for me for Bewitched other than Samantha and Darren. I mean, that's the cast and, that I grew up with. That was the set that I grew up with. It's just, that is, to me, the only Bewitched. And one thing that I have always said, and maybe it was because of my age, but when I'm watching something, I like to forget that I'm watching something being acted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we were growing up, I mean, the Waltons were the Waltons. You know, they weren't characters acting. It's the same with Little House on the Prairie. The Ingalls were the Ingalls. They weren't actors.
Yeah.
Because, and again, maybe that was because it was our age. I don't know. I find it very difficult now, but it does happen that sometimes you're watching something. It's so well acted and so well produced and directed that you forget that you're watching an actor do a job, that you're actually watching, you know, Samantha and Darren. They become part of your family, you know, sort of thing. So
there was a spinoff too, wasn't there, Tabitha?
Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Tabitha. She and her family lived in a typical American home. There was a mother, Samantha, a father, Darren, little Tabitha, and her brother, Adam. As Tabitha grew older, her parents discovered that she was a gifted child.
Look.
Quite gifted. But wisely, they didn't pay a lot of attention to that. And Tabitha grew up just right, with pigtails and freckles, just like any other typical American girl. Almost.
It could be magic. The way I feel. It could be magic. But it feels so real. It could be magic.
I don't think I've seen any of that. Again, I kind of get stuck in my ways.
This was out, I do believe, in the 70s. I do believe, but yeah, it was a spinoff. We have it. We actually have it. We just never watched it yet.
Well, maybe we should give that a little spin around, considering, you know, the Halloween season is approaching.
True, and it wasn't the original actress that played Tabitha.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what her name is.
Tabitha Stevens was played by Erin Murphy. It was actually twins, but
and they were played by who?
Well, it was played by most notably Erin Murphy. It was two. Okay, so it was multiple infants that played the actress Tabitha. But the show's creators actually settled on one actress in the end.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I'm pretty sure she didn't reprise her role in the spinoff. I think it was a different actress. I can't remember what her name was, but
yeah, Tabitha was actually performed by two different sets of twins until choosing Erin Murphy to be the full-time Tabitha.
Probably once they started getting
to get a little older, yeah, because that would be kind of hard to pull off once they're once they start to really develop their looks. So
when did everybody pass away? Not to be a Debbie Downer.
Elizabeth Montgomery passed away May 18th, 1995. And
yeah, she had cancer, I do believe.
Yeah, Dick York passed away February 20th, 1992. Agnes Moorehead died April 30th, 1974. So she passed away 2 years after the show ended.
Jeez, I thought she lived longer than that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she was born in 1900. So, I mean, she was 74 years old. But, well, not quite 74, 73.
Which, by today's standards, ain't really that old.
Yeah. Erin Murphy, who played Tabitha, is now 60.
Wow.
I know, right? But she was like close to our age when the show was on. And David White, who played Larry Tate, passed away November 27th, 1990. And Dick Sargent, the second Darren, passed away July 8th, 1994.
A lot of them passed away in the 90s.
Yeah, so...
The whole twinkling of the nose, I think that was like a nervous twitch or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was just incorporated into her little nose wiggle.
And then Tabitha would just take her finger and go, tiki tiki tiki.
Yes, she would. Yeah.
Tinky tinky tink. I think I just like saying.
I think you do.
Tink.
Yeah, I'm sure you can put some sound effects in there. The better than your little tinky tinky tink. Anyways, hopefully you've enjoyed our little jaunt around Bewitched.
A little walk down memory lane.
A little walk down memory lane, yeah. And if you do get a chance to, watch some episodes for the Halloween season.
Yes. That and some, Munsters and Addams Family.
Addams Family, yeah.
Which we could probably do, actually, podcasts on those, too.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Something to consider for the future. So, actually, future episodes up and coming in October, we will be discussing, obviously, Halloween, Samhain. We'll come up with something, maybe a spooky story. We'll see what we can come up with. And then November, we will be discussing the Merry Witchmas Fair. And then December, we'll be closing out the season with our Yuletide episode. So, and then who knows what January is going to bring. Maybe we'll take a break. Maybe we'll be back. We don't really know. We'll have some new segments, but anyways, we'll get to that when we get to that. So we will now move on to the Zodiac portion of the podcast.
This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius.
So, the Zodiac portion of the podcast, we are going to discuss today Libra. Libra runs from September 22nd to October 22nd, 23rd, and it is the 7th house of the Zodiac. The symbol of the Libra is the scales. The element is air. The planet is Venus. People born under the sign of Libra are creative, fair, logical, charming. They're peacekeepers, have a tendency to be a little bit indecisive. They're always seeking balance, looking at both sides of the story. And I know this because we have a Libra sitting right here in the podcast. Tell us about yourself, Sean.
Oh, you mean me? I thought you meant Pirate Chicken.
Yeah, I think Pirate Chicken might be an Aries like me. So, compatible with Aries. Colors, I find this kind of funny actually, because the colors of a Libra are like a blue and a pink, which was actually... Our wedding colors were blue and lavender, like a pinky. Yeah, It was kind of funny.
Is that done on purpose?
No, I just really like the colors. So.
I got to ask because I just kind of showed up.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, well, you did a little bit more than just show up. But anyways, your lucky day is Friday. Your lucky stone is opal, and your lucky number is 6.
Oh.
So, yeah.
For me, 47 just seemed to be a number.
I like 42, which adds up to 6. So,
I heard another thing about Libras. I heard when they're married in a relationship, and if they start getting into advertising halfway through the relationship, they get replaced. It's just, that could be just a rumor.
Jason Momoa.
You want Momoa.
Anyways, that's a whole other story. So, yeah, we will now move on to... I have a little bit of a hot flash here talking about Jason Momoa. Okay, so now we will move on to the full moon portion of the podcast. So the full moon is on Tuesday, September 17th. Also the 60th anniversary of, you guessed it, Bewitched.
Ta-da!
The September full moon is called the corn moon, and the harvest moon symbolizes a time of preparing for the cold winter months. It is a season of abundance. It is a good time for celebrating achievements and for divination. Celebrate the balance of light and dark as the winter months approach. It's a great time to do rituals for prosperity, luck, and abundance. And it's also a good time to let go of what no longer serves you.
Now, I was reading the other day that there's supposed to be 3 different types of moons on the same night, but I can't for the likes of me remember.
Well, maybe we'll look into that and we'll discuss that next podcast.
Sure.
Okay. So now we are going to move on to the shout out section of the podcast. Yay! Okay, so some shout outs. So what do we have on the go here? Coming up September 21st, there is a spiritual craft fair at the Lunenburg Fire Hall in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia, 25 Medway Street from 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. $2 admission. Yours truly will be there doing charm castings that day. September 28th, again, some of the same crew, maybe some different crew at the Bridgewater Legion from 10 until 3 on 78 Churchill Street. $2 admission. Yours truly will not. Well, I shouldn't say that. yours truly plans on being there, but plans on being there in the capacity of customer instead of vendor, because that is my witchy weekend. I will be away with my girls. So we do plan, if all goes well, to spend some time there and partake of some shopping and readings ourselves, which is kind of nice for me too, because as a vendor, you know, when you get busy, you don't get a chance sometimes to walk around and chat with the other vendors or purchase goods and services. And then September 28th and 29th as well, there is the Mystic Moon Fair at the Halifax Forum in the Maritime Hall, hosted by the Pagan Association of Nova Scotia and the Emerald Cauldron. I don't have any more information on that. So I'll see if I can find a poster for address, times, admission. And the other shout out that I would like to put out here, well, 2 shout outs actually, because we probably won't be back before October 6th, is a happy birthday to my wonderful husband and sound guy. Aww. This podcast can't happen without you.
Oh, thank you.
And I do appreciate everything that you do for this podcast. I know that sometimes I drop things in your lap at the last minute, like I did with this one. So it's like, oh, by the way, can this be ready for Tuesday? Thank you. So yeah, happy birthday. I'll make sure I buy you something nice.
Oh, thank you.
So, and the other shout out, which is nothing to do with the Maritime Witch, Maritime for sure, but not the witchy part. But I'm a firm believer in supporting local business. And I'd like to give a little shout out to Anna's Maple Cafe. Where is Anna's Maple Cafe, you might ask? Well, it is in Lake Paul. I don't have the exact civic address. They do have a Facebook page, I do believe. We went for a little drive last weekend, and we came across this building and a sign begging for customers. I'll post the picture. It was absolutely hilarious, but it did entice us to stop. And we went up to the little takeout window, and I got a lavender and chai latte. You got a cappuccino.
Yeah.
Very, very yummy drinks. I had the best butter tart I have ever had in my life. I would drive all the way to Lake Paul just to get a butter tart. And I also got, well, you got an apple turnover, and I also got some maple walnut fudge. Now, I like walnuts in my fudge. This was chock block full of walnuts. It was absolutely divine, and it wasn't like overly sweet. You didn't feel like your teeth were rotting out of your head when you were eating it. And I ate pretty much all of it in one sitting.
And why did we stop?
Because the sign told us to stop.
Because the sign said... something along the lines of...
Let me see. Well, I'm going to post the picture. Sean did take a picture of the sign. And the sign says, "Customers wanted, please, I'm so bored."
Yeah.
So, but you know what? It worked.
It worked.
Yeah, we stopped. And if you get a chance, if you're just kind of driving around the province, or you want a great butter tart and some great fudge and a great drink, and I mean, everything that we bought, it was like less than $20. So shout out to Anna's Maple Cafe, and hopefully we can send some people your way so that you're not so bored.
Cool.
So anyways, this wraps up episode 9, and we will be back next month with the Halloween Samhain episode. And in the meantime, may the universe find you safe, happy, and healthy. Blessed be.